Everyone, and welcome back to a football forecast. And in today's video, we go through the best player in each position right now in the world. If you enjoy this, it would be great to subscribe to this channel as well as liking the video. We're going to start with the keeper position, and I have got three players that I think you could talk about. The first one is Donnarumma. Donnarumma has been exceptional, especially recently. He's a great shot stopper as well as great at stopping penalties, and he's been really good for Manchester City so far, and he was excellent for PSG last season. He was excellent more though in the second half of the season. Courtois has just been so consistent for Real Madrid. He had an ACL injury, came back and was the same player. I actually think there's an argument Courtois has actually got better in the last year. He is definitely one of the best keepers in the world. And the final one is Alisson, probably the best one-on-one keeper and one of the best one-on-one keepers we may ever see. He's an unbelievable shot stopper. All three of these keepers are brilliant. I think some people may be saying David Raya. I just think he's still a tier below these three keepers right now. So then the question is, who would I go with? Well, I've had to find somewhere where I think that one keeper is better than the rest at. And for me right now, who would I go with in goal? What I've looked for in this is an area where one keeper is just better than the rest at his attribute, because I think their shot stopping is very similar. I think their ability to save the ball was very similar. And what I've gone with is the ability with the ball at their feet. This is so important in the modern game. And for me, Alisson is a lot better than Courtois at this and Donnarumma. So for that reason, I'm going to be selecting Alisson. Then we're on to right back, where there are a lot of options. You could pick someone like a more attacking right back like Trent Alexander-Arnold, or you could pick a defensive right back like Jules Koundé. But I think the main ones to talk about is Jurrien Timber, Achraf Hakimi and Reece James. Jurrien Timber is your more defensive fullback. I do rate Jurrien Timber very highly. I think he's absolutely excellent. But I don't actually think he's the best right back in the Premier League. I think the best right back in the Premier League right now is Reece James. I just think overall he is the best. But then the question is, who do you pick out of Reece James and Achraf Hakimi? Well, Hakimi I would say is weaker defensively but better going forward. But I just think Reece James is just absolutely class. I think when he's fit, he is definitely the best choice at right back. And I know this has been a problem for Reece James recently, but right now he is match fit, he's playing well, and I'm going to be selecting Reece James in this combined 11. I wouldn't ask you if you did think Hakimi or Jurrien Timber though. Then we're on to centre halves, and I've got sort of four main centre halves to discuss. The first one being William Saliba. I think Saliba has been really good for Arsenal in the last couple of years, and has been a crucial reason why they've been able to sustain this sort of ability to be in the title race. They haven't quite got over the line yet, but he's been a crucial reason why they've been around it. The next player to talk about is a centre half partner in Gabriel. Gabriel has been absolutely brilliant. I think those two together are the best centre half partnership in the world by quite a distance. I actually think there's two centre halves that are still better than Gabriel and Saliba. The first one being Bastoni, absolutely incredible for Inter Milan, and at some point I would expect him maybe to move to a different club. He's absolutely brilliant and deserves, I think, to be in this combined 11. If you were to say Gabriel, I wouldn't argue with you hugely. The other one I think has to be in there, and that is Virgil van Dijk. I know Van Dijk in the last couple of months hasn't been at his best, but I still think he is the best centre-half in the world. I think he's absolutely brilliant. And I think he's so important to Liverpool. I think when Van Dijk plays, Liverpool are a completely different side. I know that Liverpool is struggling right now, and people are saying, oh, Van Dijk hasn't quite been at his best. And I agree with that. He's made mistakes in games. But without him, they would be so much worse. And I think it's absolutely essential he is part of that defence. Then we're on to left back. And I think there's two left backs that I definitely talk about as the best in the world. I think some nominations, though, is Alphonso Davies, who's unfortunately been injured for so long. Balde, who's also had some injury problems. Alafiori, who's also had a very good season. But I don't think they really compare to the top two. I think the top two is quite clear. And that is either Nuno Mendes or Marc Cucurella. Nuno Mendes, I think, has locked up some of the best wingers in the world on a consistent basis now. He's been absolutely exceptional. He was unbelievable for PSG last season. One of the best players for that PSG side. When you look at Marc Cucurella, in the last couple of years, he's probably been the most consistent left back in the world, continuously putting in good 8 out of 10 performances, and he's won lots of his battles over the last couple of years up against top wingers. I do think I am going to go with Nuno Mendes. I think Mendes has been better for PSG than Marc Cucurella has been, but Marc Cucurella has also been very good. We've got the holding midfield position, and I've got Caicedo, Rodri, and Joshua Kimmich. I think this is quite clear. I think Caicedo and Kimmich are probably just a step below Rodri. I think Rodri is the best in the world and deserves to be in this 11. I would like to just talk about the brilliance of Caicedo and Kimmich. Caicedo, the amount of tackles he puts in, I think he's absolutely essential to that Chelsea team. And when he doesn't play, they are a completely different side, nowhere near where they need to be. I think if Caicedo and Kimmich were to play together, that would be an unbelievable midfield pairing, because I think they complement each other better. Because I think they complement each other so well. I think Rodri is the overall package. I think he can do everything. I think he's brilliant when it comes to passing, in terms of controlling a game. But then he's so good in the tackle, and that's why I've gone with Rodri. Then we've got the next midfield, and this is more like an 8. And the first one I want to discuss is Declan Rice. He's been absolutely brilliant for Arsenal, an absolute engine, and his delivery from set pieces is brilliant. But I don't know if he's quite at the level of the next two, and that is Vitinha and Pedri. And I think you could make an argument easily for either of these two players that are so good at controlling a game. Vitinha at PSG, I think, is a huge reason why they went on to win the Champions League. But I don't still think he's as good as Pedri. I think he's had a better year than Pedri, but I think overall I would still rather have Pedri in my team. So for that reason I will be selecting Pedri. Just unbelievable for Barcelona. We've got the slightly more advanced midfielder. We've got the 10. And for the selection, I've got Bruno Fernandes as an option, but I'm straight away disregarding him. I don't think he's as good as people make out. I think in some ways he can cause United problems. He can make them actually worse as a side, because he just gives the ball away way too much. And look, there's so many stats that back up that Bruno Fernandes is one of the best players in the world, or one of the best 10s in the world. But I do think that they don't actually show what's actually happening, because he may get so many assists, but he also gives the ball away so many times. The next one is Musiala. I have disregarded Musiala as well, just because of his injury. And also I don't think he's quite as good as the top two, which is between Cole Palmer and Jude Bellingham. And I think this is a really difficult debate. I think as a complete player, Jude Bellingham would get in. As if you go a bit more deeper, slightly more deeper role, I think Jude Bellingham's 100% in over Cole Palmer. But in the 10, I think there's a big debate, and I do think that Palmer is probably slightly better. And for that reason, I am going to be selecting Cole Palmer. I want Cole Palmer starting for England in the 10 for the World Cup. I think he's in that role slightly better than Bellingham. If you disagree with that, I'm not really going to care or complain, because I just think it's so close. We've got the right wing position, and we've got Yamal, we have got Elise, we've got Salah, who is definitely out of form but still a top winger, and we have got Bukayo Saka. But for me, it's got to be Lamine Yamal. I think he's probably a tier ahead of all these. I think they're all on the same tier as the rest. But I think if you're talking about who's the absolute best, I am going to pick Lamine Yamal for this team. One who I did consider putting on the right wing was Ousmane Dembele. I just couldn't actually find a position for him in this team because of sort of how PSG play. And I know he's the current Ballon d'Or winner, but I don't think he's actually better than any of the right wingers or better the strikers, which is the other position he's been playing, which brings me on to that. And for that, I've got Erling Haaland, Harry Kane, and Mbappe. I want Mbappe off the left. Mbappe, in my opinion, should get in this World 11, but I can't actually fit him in because I don't think he's the best striker in the world, but I do think he's probably one of the best players in the world, and really he should be on the left wing, but that's not where he's played any minutes for Real Madrid. Then you've got Erling Haaland or Harry Kane, and I've decided to go with Erling Haaland. I think if you just want an absolute out-and-out number 9, Erling Haaland is the best in the world at just being exactly what you need. He's so fast, he's so strong, his link-up play has improved so much, but this does sort of, I guess, undermine Kane to an extent. Kane is very unfortunate to miss out on this combined 11. He is such a complete striker, and he's just more than a striker. But just as a pure number 9, I just still think I'd rather pick Erling Haaland. He can go missing in games, but I think he has improved in terms of overall, and I think he's now affecting more games, and I think for me that's why I've decided to put him in. Ousmane Dembele, as I said, was an option as the striker, but I haven't decided to pick him because I don't think he's actually better than any of the other striker options. So finally, we're ending with a left winger. You've got loads of options. You've got your Luis Diaz's, your Rafinha's. I think it's probably between two, Vinny Jr. and Kvaratskhelia. You couldn't put Mbappe in because I've decided he hasn't played any minutes basically off the left for Real Madrid, and for that reason he has to be selected as a striker. So that means it's between Kvaratskhelia and Vinicius Jr. And look, I think Vinicius Jr. has become incredibly overrated at points now. I don't think he is one of the best players in the world. I don't think he is Ballon d'Or worthy. I think Kvaratskhelia is probably a better player than Vinicius Junior these days, and I do think Kvaratskhelia should be in the combined 11 over Vinicius Junior. Ideally, I put Mbappe in there, but I couldn't do it because he just hasn't played there enough. So we've done all the players for the World 11. So then finally I've got the manager, and it is between Luis Enrique and Pep Guardiola. This would have been more interesting if you could have added a Jurgen Klopp, but he is not in management, and he's basically retired from being a manager from now, so I couldn't put Klopp in. I think it's pretty obvious. I'm going to go with Guardiola, one of the best managers of all time. Enrique is a top manager, just won the Champions League with PSG, but he is still nowhere near Pep Guardiola. That is the end of this World 11. It was incredibly difficult to pick this World 11. Let me know your World 11 down in the comment section. Where do you think I've gone wrong? I've done my best to try do it as fair as possible. And if you enjoy this, it would be great if you subscribe to the YouTube channel as well as liking the video.